Hi everybody, my name is Oliver Sologo and welcome to this tutorial. Sometimes during our filming, we might capture images that are not perfectly stable. Today I'm gonna show you a few simple techniques to get the best out from Fusion, a powerful tool that we can find inside the DaVinci Resolve. A good stabilization can greatly improve the overall look of your video. We typically use the default tools for stabilization. DaVinci Resolve, for example, provides 3 different kinds of stabilization. However, the best results can be achieved using Fusion. The Planar tracker is a node tool that can be used to track specific areas of your footage. It's the tool that we are going to use today. So now let's dive into some practical examples. This is a long shot that lasted around 6 minutes and a half that was captured using my camera handle. In this case, I wanted to create an hyperlapse. So let's see, for example, what is going to happen if we try to stabilize using the traditional stabilizer. It doesn't work. Let's take the traditional stabilization off. We just need to choose our clip on the timeline and we hit this button and we switch to Fusion. Here we have the node area, and this is the most interesting part because all the magic is happening here. The inspector, that is the same kind of inspector that we can find inside the editing interface. Let's add one node. We just need to right click on the media in node. We choose insert tool, and we are going to use the Planar tracker that is inside the tracking menu. Now we need to choose a frame where the subject is completely visible. In this case, the subject is always visible for the entire duration. So we are gonna start the tracking from the middle. I just need to drag a rough shape around the subject. Just make sure that there is enough contrast between the subject and the background. We need to click Set in order to let the Planar tracker what is the starting point for the tracking. And now we need to change the motion type that is usually set to perspective. Perspective is the most precise one, but it's also the most difficult to track. So let's change the option to translation. And we can start the tracking backwards. This is a very intensive process, so it might take a while to get done. Once we get to the end, we need to hit again the Go button, and we need to repeat the same process forward. This is the best part, because you see there is another object that is passing between the camera and the subject, but the tracker is intelligent enough to understand that the subject that we are trying to track is the one that we choose before. Sometimes the tracking will stop. It means that probably you need to choose a different frame. So if, for example, you start at 4530, start the tracking from a different frame, like this one. We just hit the reset button and we drag another window around our subject. Set, we change the motion type to translation as we did before, and we repeat the process. Once we have done, we just need to change the operation mode from track to steady. Now there is another thing that needs to be fixed. You see the black borders here? The easiest way is to add a transform node, so we just need to click with the right button on the Planar track node, insert tool, and we choose transform. Using the transform node, we can just control and try to realign the clip inside of the screen, or by just changing the size, we can crop it a little bit just to get rid of from the black borders. Now let's move ahead with another example. Let's lay down our clip on the timeline, with which again inside the Fusion interface. As we did before, we just need to draw a shape around the subject. We set the reference time, and instead of choosing translation, we are going to choose translation and rotation. We click on Set, and then we track back. We go again on the reference time and we track forward. Once we have done, we just need to click and change the operation mode from track to steady. And this is perfectly stabilized. If you see at the last frame, the tracker has lost the position of the subject. So we just need to go here, open the keyframe tool. We need to click here to between zoom to fit, I remove the last two keyframes. Another way to add a transform tool is just to drag from here, from the toolbar. In the toolbar there are the most common used nodes, so we just need to take the transform node and drag it to the node area. And we can adjust the angle just to make it more straight. There is a very easy trick to replicate and to reconstruct the missing part of the image once we have stabilized it. We just need to add and drag on the node area another transform tool. We need to connect the media in to the transform tool. Now what we are going to do is just to flip the image, and we transform the image, we put it on the top. So let's put 1.5. We connect again the node using the merge tool. Let's make a little space. And we can do the same also with the other edges. So we just need to take another transform tool. We connect it. And we need to flip, in this case, horizontally. We just need to enlarge it a bit. And the result is impressive. This is a kind of stabilization that usually is impossible to obtain using the traditional tools. From London, let's move to Hong Kong. This is a very tricky one to stabilize, because you see there are a lot of elements that are impassing in front of the camera. If we try to stabilize this footage using the traditional one, we will get probably some very unsatisfactory results. So let's switch again to the Fusion interface. We seek for a frame where the subject is entirely visible. This one should be fine. Instead of clicking with the right button, we just need to press Shift space bar. It's a shortcut to open the select tool, and we choose Planar Tracker. This time, instead of drawing the shape around the subject, we are going to draw a bigger shape. So I'm going to tell the Planar Tracker what is the portion of the image that I would like to get stabilized. Bigger is the area, slower is the process, but better could be the result. Now we change the tracker to translation, click on set, and we repeat the process. The Planar Tracker is not affected by the elements that are between the camera and the subject that we are shooting at. We go to last frame, and we repeat the same process going forward. This is definitely a kind of material that is absolutely impossible to stabilize using the traditional ways. Now we need to change the operation made from track to steady. It's not perfect, so you see that here it lost a bit. So in this case, we just need to repeat the tracking from a different frame to get a better result. You see that the frame is shifting from the side to another position. So we just need to add a transform node. Set a keyframe on the first frame. Then we need to go on the frame where we see the shifting, and we add another keyframe. Maybe we can also add more keyframe in the middle. Then I can just change the size a bit. So this is an incredibly powerful tool. There is another example that I want to show you with a different kind of shots. And sometimes when you are using the gimbal, you are not able to get a very smooth movement. As we did before, we can just add a planar tracking node. We need to find a subject that is easily to recognize it. Draw a circle around this one. Then you need to set again the keyframe, change the motion type to translation, and start the tracking. You see that the frame is shifting as well here, because we have a different kind of movement. We just need to add a transform node. before the frame is starting to shift again, we set another keyframe. Every time you see the frame that is starting to shift or at the end of the shifting, you need to set a keyframe. This should be fine. We see that the shifting is starting here, so let's find the moment where the frame is shifted to the maximum. This one should be fine. And we set another keyframe here. And then we drag, and we just compensate the stabilization using the transform node. So here there is another shift back to the top, so we need to add another keyframe. If you want to make this even smoother, click on the transform node, open the keyframes tab, click here to adjust exam to fit, choose all the keyframes and press the S button. This is gonna make the transformation smoother. Change the size of the frame, increase it a little bit, and to remove the black borders that we see on the edges. Okay, now there is no more. Let's switch back to the edit. Add a bit of speed ramping. Let me maybe change the speed to 700% and see what is gonna happen. From this to this. It looks perfect now, no? It's so precise that it looks like that has been made with using a robotic arm and not just a gimbal. The last thing that I'm going to show you is also there is another way to use the Planar tracker, another option. So let's switch to Fusion. This frame should be fine. We add a Planar tracker. We draw a shape around the subject that you would like to track. Click set. And we track. Okay, now we repeat the movement also backward. We click on go, backward. Okay, sometimes we need to control how much the smoothing is applied to our footage. Planar Tracker is offering another operation mode that is called Stabilize. It works like the traditional stabilizer. For example, we can control the axis of the stabilization. We can control if you want to lock the rotation or the scale. And we can also choose how much we need to make smoother. To get the rotation of the scale, we need also to change the way that the tracking is working. So the tracker, the motion type that we need to track, it will be translation, rotational scale, or perspective. Every time we change the parameters, we need to click on the compute stabilization. You can play, you can try to experiment with the parameters, and you can see, for example, how much this kind of stabilization is way more efficient than the traditional one. Don't be intimidated by Fusion. Once you get used to the node-based approach, you'll find that it's more versatile and efficient than traditional tools like After Effects. So everybody, thank you for watching this video. And if you enjoyed this tutorial and you would like to see more, please hit the subscribe button. And if you have any question, please feel free to leave a comment below. Dai!